everybody, Lorina Quigley here, your mystical medium. My YouTube channel is now called Lorina Q Mystical Medium. Trying to get it right. I wanted to share with you, I did a question and answer Zoom class. It wasn't really a class, but it was a Zoom that this amazing medium named Darren Brittain, he's from the UK, allowed a bunch of us to sit with him and answer. He answered all the questions that we had. He's from the UK. There are a lot of good mediums that come out of the UK because they have really good training. Not that you can't get good training here, but they're, as part of the spiritualist community, a lot of them come from that. So there's some really great training from that. And that was my training. My first training was a spiritualist minister. This was in New York City. It was not from the UK. But he was a spiritualist minister, so that was that spiritualist mediumship training. Anyway, I just wanted to share some of the things that he shared with us because there were some really nice things that he said. And so I made notes, so I'm going to be looking down a little bit here and there. And what he said was, he talked about being a natural medium, because some people are just natural mediums. I feel like I was a natural medium. I didn't know that I was. It had to find me. But it's a discovery process. And so what he said was, how did mediumship find you? How did mediumship find you? And he said to reflect on this. Did it find you or did you seek it? And he said that a lot of mediums, somehow mediumship found them through a natural process. And he compared that to looking for a plumber. You need a plumber, you look for one. And that it's not like that. It's that it somehow found you. It came into your life somehow. And that's what happened to me. I had many psychic experiences. I had even some visitations, astral projection, I could see past lives, all sorts of things. But mediumship never occurred to me. I didn't know any mediums. I think I'd been to one once, and I just thought, oh my God, this lady, she's telling me to talk to my sister. And I'm like, okay, you're crazy. I haven't talked much about that experience. It was when I first arrived in New York City. Anyway, so going through the process, when I decided to sign up for psychic development classes in New York City, and that's what they were called, psychic development classes. They were not mediumship classes. And I thought, yeah, I want to be more psychic. I've had a lot of psychic experiences, but I want to be able to actually ask them to show up. I want them to just show up and have them happen when I want, as in maybe I'm doing a reading for somebody. So I went to these classes. Well, they ended up being mediumship classes, but I didn't know that that's what I was signing up for. So, and the first class we played Psychic Pictionary. I never did that before, where the teacher had a whiteboard in front of him that was turned away from us. He drew a picture on it and he says, okay, draw the first thing that comes to your mind. And he went around and looked at what everybody drew on paper. He didn't say how good or bad anybody was. He didn't have people pull out their work or anything. But it was really fun. It was really cool. So I've actually made that a game sometimes that I've played with my nieces before. my niece and I can't remember who else was there. But we played Psychic Pictionary. It's fun. You should try it. Anyway, so getting on with my story, this is the second class. We had a full-on seance. Now, I thought that sounded pretty scary, but he didn't give us time to be scared. He's like, we're doing this. He turned out the lights. and it was in a really dark room. We sat in a circle. There's about 30, 35 people, something like that. And we did a short meditation, calling in the spirits, and started giving messages. Well, somewhere in the middle of that, maybe past the middle, towards the end of the class, I literally saw this woman walk in. I mean, a ghost. She looked exactly like a ghost in the movies. And she walked in through the middle of the room, turned to me, and came to me and put her head in my lap. So she kind of got down on her knees, put her head in my lap and started crying. And I'm like, whoa, okay, this is really weird. I've never seen anything like this before. This is wild. And at the same time, she was crying in my lap. I knew that the message was for either this woman or the woman next to her. I knew it was for one of them, and I knew it was their mother. And I knew what the message was. This had never happened to me before. Now that's mediumship came to me. It found me. And after the class, I thought it was the coolest thing ever, so I had to have more of that. And I did do the full curriculum all through the different levels of the class. And most of the people did. That was a pretty solid class that we stayed through, and we got really amazing training from a spiritualist minister. So it was very classic spiritualist training. And he was a really good teacher. He actually passed away last year. I was sad to hear about that because he had a profound effect on my life. Showing up and just randomly, oh, I want to do psychic development. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Who knew I could do that? So anyway, mediumship can find you. And you may be a natural medium and you don't know it. And you've had a lot of experiences, but you don't know what they mean or how to classify them or how to control it or any of these things. So training can be really amazing. And also, he talked about how you feel when spirits come to visit you, come to be with you. This reminds me of Tony Stockwell. If you watch any of his videos, he's a really good UK medium. But he talks about being in that place where you're really, really quiet and you let spirit blend with you. And it does blend with you. But there are other things that you can do. You can actually ask them to come in and connect with them through the person that you're with. There are many ways to connect with spirit, but this is quite natural when they actually blend with you. And you get information as they do that. You can connect heart to heart with somebody and connect through their loved ones, through their heart. But it's a heart-to-heart thing. That's probably one of the easiest ways to connect with spirit. Or you can actually rise above yourself, seeing yourself, go into a meditative state and see your spirit kind of lift up a little and then like above your crown chakra and see from that place what is around you is another way that you can connect with spirit. Anyway, when you connect with spirit, how does it feel to you? This is the question. Do you feel expanded? Do you feel like you're in a state of love? As spirit comes through to give information, that's going to shift as far as how they make you feel. But the predominant feeling is this space of love and healing that you're coming from to help give messages. And one of the biggest risks about being a medium, and he talked about this, the biggest risks and one of maybe possibly the hardest thing about it is that it's risky. And the risky thing is that you could be wrong when you give information. You might not interpret it correctly. You could just be wrong. But you have to learn to be okay with being wrong. And that's really hard to do. And it's one of the hardest things to do is actually risk being wrong. We don't like being wrong. In fact, we hate it. I find myself doing that too still. It's like, oh no, should I say anything? I'm getting this, but wow, that seems crazy. Usually it turns out pretty good when you decide to go ahead and say it anyway. Because sometimes when you start communicating the information that you're getting, what can happen is that opens up the flow to more information. So it can be really quite helpful to just say it anyway. But there's a risk involved with that. That's the scary part about being a medium or any kind of psychic information, is that you could be wrong. And again, we don't like to be wrong. It's really uncomfortable. So you have to work that out. And a lot of times in class, if there are new people who are coming in and they're like, oh my God, I have to sit here and give psychic information, I have to do exercises and try and be psychic, that's a lot of pressure. Yes, you do. But it's a safe environment. It's a class. It's not, oh, I'm already really amazing at this. Because usually what you end up finding out is that, wow, some of your impressions that you're getting actually could be much more natural than what you realize. And you are getting information. But a lot of times we just don't think that it's information coming in. Yeah. Anyway, it's pretty cool. So, do I have anything else to say about what he said? Yeah, you have to have a tolerance for uncertainty to do this kind of work, because you could be wrong. It's the hardest part. It really is. So you have to be okay with the feelings that brings up, sitting in front of people and perhaps being wrong, because sometimes it's a lot of pressure when people, they so desperately want to connect with somebody, and you of course want to connect with them. So there's a part of you that just has to be okay with being in that space, calming down, being quiet, and going, okay, Spirit, come meet with me, come help me with this. And being extra sensitive and empathic, it might be difficult to get there because the energy that you're feeling that is coming from these people who want to meet, who want to communicate with their loved ones who are on the other side. And so you might start feeling their anxiety or pain or anger, perhaps, and you have to learn how to sit with that and be okay with that and not have it influence you. It's one of the harder things to deal with when you're a medium. But it's just practice. And if you want to be a medium, find a good teacher. Take classes and practice. That's how you get good at this. And that's how you get good at recognizing all of the information that comes in. Anyway, I do want to share something that happened to me yesterday, actually. I was doing a reading for somebody. Now, this was an energy healing, but when I do energy healing, I get lots of information comes in. Psychic information, mediumship information. It's kind of like a whatever happens to show up kind of scenario. And while doing this energy healing on this woman, her grandfather showed up, her mother and her grandfather. And it was the grandfather's daughter, which was her mother. Hope that's clear. Anyway, but the first person who came in was the actual grandfather, her grandfather. And I'm sitting there, because I took a step back from doing the energy healing, and I was sitting, because you need to do that on occasion, kind of take a step back and sit and just observe what's going on energetically in the room and with your client. And all of a sudden I'm feeling like, oh my God, I feel like I'm a man, and I'm not. And I have this big belly, big belly. And I'm like, okay, this is really weird, because I didn't feel someone walk into the room. Usually I feel when spirits walk into the room. There were guides there. There were guides there. I already knew they were there. Now this was different. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I feel like a man and I have this big belly. And then I saw this image of somebody with very little hair on top of their head, an older man, and super quiet. The thing is, he was so quiet that I did not get a message from him. Like, no message. Like, just someone who's super quiet who was suddenly there. And I felt like I was this man. Super quiet and just there, and this big belly. And then I felt his daughter, my client's mother, show up, and she was giving information about her and what's held in her body and where it is, and the kind of trauma that she went through, not the mother, the daughter went through, experiencing her mother's illness and then ultimately her death, and what is still being held in the body around that. And so it was just really interesting, so I moved some more energy, but then I started telling her what I saw, and it's like and felt and experienced, and she said, oh yeah, that's my grandfather. I said, but I didn't get any information from him. He just sat there. He was super quiet, and I didn't feel like anger or hate or judgment or even love. He was just super quiet and was just there. And she said, oh yeah, that is him. That is him. And that was his personality. So just an interesting experience. And then I talked about her mother too, of course, and what that was like for her. Anyway, I wanted to share this video with you because I wanted to ask you, are you a natural medium? Has mediumship shown up in your life to take you in that direction to actually learn how to do it? It's pretty amazing. Mediumship is really fun and amazing. Anyway, how has mediumship shown up for you? Or psychic abilities even, because usually it just starts happening. Anyway, it's pretty cool. If there's anything you want to share with me, please do on the comments. And I do remote and in-person sessions and readings for people, just so you know. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day, everyone. Lots of love.